What's up, everybody watching? This is going to be a little different from the gaming videos that are usually done on this channel, but I feel the need that this absolutely has to be done because Sunday, 6/19/2016, Father's Day, might have been the most epic night of television in recent memory. We had WWE Money in the Bank 2016, the NBA Finals 2016, and Game of Thrones Battle of the Bastards. I am a fan of all three of these things. I know they're all over the spectrum. Played basketball growing up, been a WWE fan since I was a little kid, and Game of Thrones, do I need to say any more? I think it is now the best show that HBO has ever produced. And for me to say that over Sopranos is a lot coming from this direction. So this is the warning, guys. There's going to be a lot of spoilers in this video. I'm going to be doing it in the order of WWE Money in the Bank 2016, NBA Finals 2016, then on to Game of Thrones if you feel like you want to skip ahead. So let's get started with this. We're going to start with WWE Money in the Bank 2016. WWE Money in the Bank 2016. Now, this one was kind of a last-minute decision on my part. I haven't ordered too many WWE pay-per-views recently because I haven't liked the direction their pay-per-views have been going, but I've been keeping up to date with most of them. I like a lot of the wrestlers that they have, especially that they're bringing in more independent wrestlers from NXT and all over the world. We have Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins has been there for quite a while, Dean Ambrose, aka John Moxley. I loved the Moxley days. No more needs to be said. And then you got Kevin Owens too. So they have the arsenal. WWE has the arsenal to put out sick pay-per-views. The selling point for this pay-per-view for me was Kevin Owens, Cesaro, and Dean Ambrose in Money in the Bank. That's what sold the pay-per-view for me. Roman Reigns had absolutely nothing to do with it in the title match with Seth Rollins, as much as I would like to see that, because I want to see Reigns lose that belt, especially to Rollins. Plus, we had AJ Styles and John Cena. Those three matches were the reason that I ordered this in the first place. The rest of them, I didn't really care too much about. So I'm going to go over these. AJ Styles going over John Cena, even though it wasn't clean, was so epic to me. This now puts AJ Styles in the forefront as one of the top players in WWE. No matter how you beat Cena, that's considered an accomplishment in WWE. And this is also going to lead us to more feuds between Cena and AJ Styles. I'm expecting a SummerSlam match between these two, and it's going to be so good if Cena doesn't go over, but I think we know how that goes. If AJ goes over Cena at SummerSlam, I'm not sure what I'm going to say, but I'm betting that match happens because AJ is one of the best in the world, and Cena, whether we like him or not, has been putting out some excellent matches recently. I remember him and Kevin Owens. That was extremely good. So, the Cena hate, I hate his character, but the man can wrestle. On to Money in the Bank. Now, this, I was divided. I was divided. Kevin Owens or Dean Ambrose. I love Kevin Owens' style, but I had to go with Ambrose since he's my favorite. I had to stick with Dean. I want to see him get that Money in the Bank briefcase, and I've wanted to see him get that world title for a long time. He has come so close on so many occasions. So getting the briefcase to me was an epic step towards getting that title. I figured whoever got that briefcase out of that match, I thought it would be one of those two, was eventually going to win the title. What I did not expect, we'll get to in a second. We had the match between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins as the main event. Rollins is coming back fresh off of an injury. Roman Reigns just sucks. That's pretty much how we could put it. He was great in The Shield. The Shield was one of the best things WWE has ever produced, and we have been waiting for a long-awaited Shield brawl. Well, it's going to happen because we were talking about that Money in the Bank match before. Dean Ambrose pulling off Money in the Bank was just complete nostalgia. I loved seeing Dean Ambrose finally get what I thought was going to be his due by holding on to that briefcase and possibly cashing in at SummerSlam in maybe a Shield three-way matchup. That's how I thought it was going to go if I was speculating, but not in a million years did I expect it to go as it did. Roman Reigns coming down as the face, even though nobody treats Roman Reigns as a face. Rollins coming out as the heel, getting cheered. It almost made, there was a little bit of investment, me thinking that Seth Rollins was the babyface in this matchup. And the matchup wasn't that great. It was the ending that did it for me. I couldn't believe Seth Rollins went over Roman Reigns clean. A complete clean victory to give Rollins back the title. And I thought this was going to set up that triple threat that we all want. Ambrose, Reigns, and Rollins. I thought that would possibly be down the line. Like I said, SummerSlam. I thought it was going to happen when he got that briefcase. When Ambrose's music hit. Coming down, hitting Dirty Deeds, and cashing in to win the title, that just made this pay-per-view completely worth it. I loved seeing Dean Ambrose have that world title because he has dog-fought through the indies. He puts on some of the best matches possible on the WWE card, has for a long time, and with that belt securely in his hands, it shows us this Shield is definitely going to be fighting. It gave us a sort of a Shield reunion, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of these three together, which is good for business. That is the best thing for business. You've heard that phrase somewhere before, right, guys? I'm so happy he won it. I hope it wasn't one of those things where, since Ambrose is from Ohio, and last night kind of went to Cleveland, that they were just going to, go for the Cleveland thing, but it works all the same. Ambrose's champion is absolutely great, and it just sets up great storylines for the future. All in all, the pay-per-view did set up future storylines. But those three matches are the ones that sold the pay-per-view, the ones that I watched the pay-per-view for, and I'm absolutely stunned and thrilled with how the pay-per-view turned out. One of the best in a long fucking time. I loved it. Much deserved, Dean Ambrose. Congratulations. So that was WWE Money in the Bank 2016. And now my little scale here, that is the third best thing I saw on television that night. It speaks volumes. Let's get to the NBA Finals now, 2016. The NBA Finals Game 7. What a storybook season this has been for the NBA. You had this building up since the start of the season. You have the Golden State Warriors going 73-9, breaking the 95-96 Bulls record for the best season. They close it out. They have a legit argument for being the best team ever. Splash Brothers all season long have played like bosses. The entire Golden State team has played like bosses. And then you have on the other end, in the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers looking to make their way back to the championship again so LeBron can bring the title to Cleveland. So history was going to be made in this game one way or another. And the way the series played out was just balls to the wall epic. You have Golden State going up 3-1. And Cleveland, again, is thinking their dreams are shattered at this point in time. Taking 3 straight from the Golden State Warriors, a team that dominated all season long, seemed almost unfathomable. But coming back from 3-1 to tie it at 3-3 and draw it to Game 7 in Golden State set the stage. Now, you're sitting there thinking, again, this is in Golden State. They've lost how many times on their home floor? I don't even know if they did, to be honest. But they're on their home state and they close out the finals and nail a chapter of history shut as one of the greatest teams ever. But LeBron James played one of the best NBA finals I have ever seen. And this is coming from somebody who isn't really a LeBron James fan, but credit has to go where credit is due. That man played his heart out. And in the end, when Kyrie Irving hit that three-pointer, that dagger, I believe it was with a minute left, you kind of saw the writing on the wall. Oh, man, it was like that dagger for the Golden State fans, but it was complete glory for Cleveland fans. The Cleveland Cavaliers ended up winning the game by 4 points to bring their first championship to Cleveland in 51 years. And LeBron, cements his place as one of the best players in NBA history by bringing that title back to Cleveland. A complete storybook ending from where LeBron originally started. You know what? In the end of it, I was rooting for Golden State, but hats off to Cleveland and LeBron James. Congratulations, guys. Last night was all about you guys. You have your hometown boy Dean Ambrose winning Money in the Bank, and LeBron bringing a title after 51 years to Cleveland. Technically, you guys got the two. You got the WWE title and the NBA championships. Congratulations, Cleveland. It was a disgusting night to be a Cleveland fan, and long overdue. And secured this NBA season as one of the most memorable ones in recent memory. I can't remember a season that I've enjoyed watching so much in the recent future. I really can't. I can't think of one. So, kudos to Cleveland. Again, excellent. Now, the main event, boys. The main event. Game of Thrones Battle of the Bastards. Let's get on with that one. Where to start with this one? Before I go any further, for any new viewers or anyone who did not know, I am an enormous fan of Game of Thrones. I have read all 5 books. I have read excerpts from Winds of Winter. I have watched every episode of the television show. And I am quick to watch theory videos on how Game of Thrones will eventually play out. So I am familiar with the story, and I am familiar that certain changes from the books have been made to adapt to the television shows. Won't say which ones. You could leave that in the comment section if you'd like to discuss it. Let's start out with Season 6, Episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. This started out in Meereen, with Daenerys returning to have a little bit of an exchange with Tyrion about the city being under siege. I really like that early exchange, as Tyrion referenced Daenerys' method as Mad King-like. She didn't like that. I didn't think she liked that, but it was good to see it out there because you saw a little bit of coldness in Daenerys at that point in time. Dany is going cold, and this made me think it was the beginning of Daenerys possibly becoming the villain in the show. But luckily, Tyrion was able to talk some sense into her early, and she went the diplomatic approach, where she proceeded to meet up with the slavers while the city was under siege to discuss terms of surrender. That gave me a little chuckle, I'm not going to lie. When they stated they were here to discuss terms of surrender, the slavers are busy sitting there with their smart little smiles, thinking that Dany is going to surrender. We all knew that wasn't going to happen. You knew damn well we were going to get a dragon cameo at that point, and it did not disappoint. This is where all of the CGI, I believe, went in this season. Drogon comes dropping in right on the top, and like a boss, Dany hops on Drogon's back. My reign has just begun. The only words that needed to be uttered. Flies off on the dragon. The other two bust out from the bottom of the temple and nuke the entire fleet. Meanwhile, you see the Sons of the Harpy getting rode up on by the Dothraki, a complete slaughterfest, leaving the slavers absolutely speechless. I loved the way this episode started out. Then, after battle was basically over, one has to die. One has to die for their treasonous activities violating the pact. Love how Grey Worm walks up. They put the lowborn on his knees, saying, "You're the one who's going to die." Not how it went. They got a twofer. Grey Worm pulling out the knife and slicing the two slavers was so epic. What a great way to start this episode out. I would also like to add, before we go to the Battle of Winterfell, you also got the exchange between Daenerys and Yara Greyjoy, where she openly states that she is going to help Yara take back the Iron Islands after a nice little exchange between her, Tyrion, and Theon. I like that exchange. I can't wait to see what happens with it. Looks like next season Dany is going to be returning to Westeros. I don't see it happening in episode 10, but that was a nice little wrap-up for Dany's story. It needed it. She has been a complete boss all season. The scene where she just takes control of the Dothraki was absolutely boss. Love Daenerys. Then we get to the Battle of the Bastards. This turned out to be one of the greatest military engagement scenes I have seen in any movie or any television show, period. The way it was done was absolutely spectacular. It started out with Jon Snow and Ramsay Bolton meeting up to discuss terms. Jon with his crew, Sansa, Davos, and Tormund. Ramsay with Lord Karstark, Lord Umber, discussing terms. Ramsay gave me a little bit of a chuckle at the beginning of this engagement, saying, "Aw, you've brought my wife back. Thank you very much. Now bend the knee and I will pardon your treasonous behaviors." You knew that wasn't going to happen. Jon Snow challenges Ramsay to one-on-one combat, which you also knew wasn't going to happen. It's militarily a bad decision for Ramsay Bolton when he has numbers and he has Winterfell at his back. The best part of that scene to me was Sansa basically giving Ramsay the good old, "Stop. Lord Bolton, you're going to die tomorrow." Turning around, riding off on her horse like a complete boss. Setting up the stage for an epic battle. Throughout the course of the night, one of my favorite exchanges was Tormund Giantsbane and Davos Seaworth discussing how their kings basically let them down or did not lead them to the promised land they were expected. The exchanges between Tormund and Davos were great to me. I hope we see more Tormund and Davos in the future. Davos also found the secret to Serene being burned to death by finding the little toy he made her. That was a sad moment. There's definitely going to be more coming with Davos. I have a strange feeling he will be killing the Red Priestess. We'll see how that exchange goes, but let's get started on the battle. The actual battle. You have both armies lined up on each side. You see Ramsay Bolton walking with his little, riding his horse with his little rope, hopping off. You knew at the end of that rope it was going to be Rickon Stark. And like Sansa said in the tent with Jon earlier in that episode, Rickon isn't going to make it. Just didn't quite go as I planned. Ramsay made a little bit of a game out of it, pulling out his little knife. You're thinking he's going to slit Rickon's throat, possibly in front of Jon, to add to the anger. He cuts him loose, pulls out his bow and arrow, tells Rickon to run to Jon. "You can see your brother." You knew he was going to snipe him out with his little bow because Ramsay has been known to do things like that, so killing Rickon was just the icing on the cake, but Ramsay got exactly what he wanted, Jon to charge into the battle. Not a smart move by Jon, but his army was quick to follow. As Ramsay released his cavalry, Jon's army comes storming in, saving Jon. One of the first occasions you possibly thought Jon Snow was going to die in this battle. This begins the entire battle scene, which, like I said, was one of the best scenes I've ever seen. It was almost like you were in the battle, the way they filmed that. You saw Jon strafing and killing and stabbing and dodging. Just so well done, covered in blood, covered in bodies. There's bodies all over the floor. Jon almost getting buried in bodies at one point in time during the battle. It was just how you would expect medieval combat to be. I haven't seen any show really portray it like that. It was just gruesome. You get towards the end of the battle, Jon's numbers are dwindling. They are surrounded by Bolton soldiers on all ends. Karstarks charge in to finish them off. Lucky for us, I can't really say it was too much of a surprise, since the exchanges between Sansa and Peter Baelish basically gave it away that the Knights of the Vale were going to come storming in and sweep up the Boltons. That was very expected, but it was sick to finally see the Knights of the Vale. We haven't seen anything with them. All we have is heard about them since Jon Arryn died. And now we actually got the action scene. Knights of the Vale looked boss as hell, and now they're behind the Starks. So in other words, Knights of the Vale swept up the entire battle, took control, and you see Ramsay retreat. At this point, we see Jon Snow, Tormund Giantsbane, and 1-1 in hot pursuit of Ramsay Bolton back to the gates of Winterfell. Ramsay Bolton gets behind the gates of Winterfell and says Jon Snow and his army would not be able to siege Winterfell, so his plan is to outlast Jon's army. Then you get the MVP of the matchup coming in. 1-1, busting down the doors of Winterfell, allowing Jon's army to charge on in, cleaning up the remaining Bolton soldiers while sacrificing himself. Ramsay Bolton getting the final arrow in on 1-1, killing the giant. At this point, Jon Snow is beyond furious, and Ramsay looks at him and says, "You wanted 1v1 combat." At which point, Jon Snow drops his sword, picks up the shield. Ramsay Bolton proceeds to fire 3 arrows, and then Jon Snow knocks the shit out of him with that shield, jumps on top, and beats the living shit out of Ramsay Bolton right in front of Sansa Stark prior to taking him to the dungeon. The siege is officially over. Jon Snow has won the Battle of Winterfell, but not without costs. You see Rickon being carried in and being told that he will be buried in the crypts next to his father with the remaining Starks. This comes to the end of this episode where we're in the dungeon. Sansa Stark comes to visit Ramsay Bolton, bloodied, beaten, and battered. Ramsay Bolton is still being a smartass. Says, "It appears our time has come to an end together, Sansa." Sansa basically stepping it up, playing the game like a boss. This is the first time that she has been in the position of control that I have noticed, in complete control, telling Ramsay Bolton she will basically wipe the Bolton name from the planet. Ramsay Bolton tried to take over and make the Bolton name great, and the irony of the entire situation is Ramsay Bolton ended up being the fall of House Bolton. And then we get to the absolute end. The Hounds. This was an absolutely great way to see Ramsay Bolton go out. Sansa unleashes the Hounds on Ramsay. Ramsay being a complete smartass, saying his hounds will never hurt him. Sansa firing back with her little thing. "You said you haven't fed them in a week, Ramsay, but they're loyal. They were loyal, and you left them starving." You see the hounds walking up to Ramsay, start licking the blood off his face, and that is the point where you knew it was just over. Ramsay Bolton ends up dying one of the most gruesome deaths in Game of Thrones history. Well deserved. Well played by Sansa. Ramsay just gets ravaged by the hounds before the credits, prior to Sansa Stark walking away like a complete boss. I am so curious to see where Sansa's storyline is going to go. There is so much opening left in this story, I can't even begin to say. Multiple directions. Episode 10, let's see if it can close up some of those loose ends and see where we're headed. Next season, it should be very, very interesting. Summing this episode up, though, this is the best episode of Game of Thrones I have seen on HBO, period. There have been tons and tons of great episodes. Blackwater, Red Wedding, first 2 to come to mind, but this one just blew it away. The battle scenes, the dialogue. This episode, if I was rating it, would be a 10 out of 10. Absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't watched it, I suggest doing so, but if you've made it to this point of the video, I'm sure you have. Guys, I would like to know in the comment section what you think of what was quite possibly the most epic night of television that I have ever seen. Can you guys remember some nights that possibly have been better, where you've had this many good shows back to back to back, where you have to choose what you're going to watch? Let me know what you thought of Money in the Bank 2016. Let me know what you thought of the NBA Finals, Game 7 2016, and definitely let me know what you thought of Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 9. Throw the spoilers in there. I'm willing to read them. I like hearing fan theories, so fire away. Guys, I'm very happy I got to make this video. Got me away from gaming for a little bit. I've been wanting to do videos like this for a while, and here's one now. If you like what I'm doing, throw me a like. If you really like what I'm doing, throw me a sub. Share. You know, the typical YouTube stuff. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day or night wherever you are. I will see you in the next video. Later, guys.